ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at my PICKEM. What on earth have I been doing? Alright. How many reverse sweeps will there be at Worlds? We hit that one. Boom. We don't want any more reverse sweeps. We're good on one. We are good at one. Alright? One reverse sweep. 3 pentakills. 3+. Boom. We hit that one. 4 Baron steals. 6 and 8. I think we nailed this one. I think we are in the zone. We're in the zone. Which Drake would be the most killed at Worlds? I put Hextech Drake. And currently... Fuck, man. Mountain Drake. Mountain Drake is completely popping off. I naturally picked Hextech Drake because they all have even nodes. So I just picked the Drake that people are the most excited about killing. So I picked Hextech Drake. This is all complete RNG. Longest game. I'm 5 minutes away. Wait, this is a very big ask. I think this was a mistake. This was really troll. Poppy, I hit that one. It's shared with a lot of champs. Really shared here. I think Poppy support, you know. Maybe this is something that could happen. Maybe it could happen. Maybe. Highest win rate. Not gonna lie. I thought Bard would be like a niche enough pick that would only be picked in certain spots. But Mickey played it and lost. So I'm doomed there 100%. Nautilus, no way Nautilus catches up. No way. We've seen too many games where Nautilus loses with 1 death. I have no clue what that is. And then who will be banned most during Champion Select at Worlds? This doesn't give me... Bard has a 0% win rate. That is wrong. It's 1-1 currently. Korea won a game of Bard. So that is false. Okay, so Talia. Talia is a piece of shit. I thought Talia jungle would be very prevalent, and I thought that Talia would be used as an answer into a lot of the mids that would be played, and I thought this is something that would be banned a lot, but not true there. I think Jarvan being strong and Orianna being strong is just really headshot. Where did Korea play Bard? Yeah, it was against C9. Who would play the most different champions at Worlds? I put Kanavi. I think it's like... It's tricky, right? Because Shio at 9 is a pretty big fucking number. But it's like the amount of volume you get by playing play-ins is insane. It's really insane. Like you have so many games under your belt, especially if you make a lower bracket run and then you reverse sweep the best of 5 that you played. That is like insane. It's really insane. So this is gonna be tough to catch up to. Got a pentakill, 3 homies here, also all in play-ins, of course. So there's that, you know, play-ins often skews this, but yeah, I don't fault them for involving play-ins, of course. Most kills in a game, that I put Scout. Scout was the leader for I believe, actually he was never the leader. That Crowny 13 is a bit too high. He was never a leader. I just remember Scout had like a banger out there game where he popped off. Ruler highest KDA could still resolve itself, right? Because if you look at the top KDA men, it's Pays, Chovy, Doran. Like these guys are gonna die a bit against Billy, I'm sure. Most champions played, you have BDS once again up there, G2 up there, GAM. Still a lot of teams that have the potential to play a lot more because of the volume that is coming up ahead of time. Fastest win, 22 minutes. Is that a metric? Fastest win? We don't have a fastest win here. Actually, which team will win the shortest game duration? Shit, T1 is actually first there. Yeah, this is some pure ass RNG. Let's look at the event in terms of the Swiss, right? In terms of play-ins, I took BDS and PSG. Unlucky, man. GAM made it happen. I think that BDS and PSG were the favorites, but BDS losing against Team Wales really skewed everything. I could see a world with PSG beat GAM, but fair play to GAM, right? They made it through. I don't want to take anything away from them. Just justifying my choices, I guess. I'm justifying my choices. Swiss. Let's take a look at some of the misses here. DK was a miss. G2 was a miss. It's kind of funny that these teams are the misses because these are the two teams that were hyped up the most when it came to scrims. And it turns out that they're both ass. And maybe this is the best possible segue to also include in this video and in this stream that Scrim results don't mean shit, okay? Without the context, they don't mean anything at all. And I think it's in poor taste to reveal your win ratio against other teams. I think it adds to the noise that are actively competing. I think that it was justified partially due to the shaming that was effective in Europe because teams cancelled. I felt like that was the higher purpose. And additionally, I think that, you know, I think also doing it at the end of the season is a lot better, you know? I feel like, you know, G2 or Roma posted this to garner some sympathy for his players. I think it's perfectly fine, right? It's perfectly fine to actually highlight that your players worked hard, and it was like, it seemed like an attempt to garner sympathy. Sure, they've done it the entire year, but yeah, in my mind, it just didn't sit right with me, considering the tournament is not over. I think there's some integrity here at play. I think adding to that noise and, you know, revealing the results of the other teams that are actively competing, I think is not ideal in my mind, you know? I don't think it's ideal. Additionally, just because you do well in scrims, it might be some indication of potential. But how many times have we heard this potential word, you know? I don't think that doing well in scrims and beating the best teams in the world in good games is indication of what is going to happen on stage, because the mentality and the idea and a lot of other variables at play are so much more active, you know? It can be the indication of potential, but it doesn't have to mean shit, okay? And we don't have any context about those scrims, and I think that in the end, it just comes across as like an attempt to garner sympathy. And don't get me wrong, I think the main thing I'm sympathetic about when it comes to G2 is that they had a poor tournament, and that doesn't fucking remove all of the effort and the hard work and also the effort that they put in to make this year as successful as possible. Because I think that the community is insanely results driven, because even after the games against Weibo and Damwon, which were insanely close, and walking away from those BO1s, you didn't feel like G2 was some kind of heavy favorite to beat these teams in a rematch. Those BO1s were not indicative of G2 being insane. They just, I think in total, if you look at G2's all of their games and all of their series at this tournament, they had a very, very poor performance. And that's so, like, that's very disappointing, right? Because the stakes were high and everyone had very high expectations of G2, but they had those expectations of G2 because they did put in the fucking effort the entire year. Well, my point here is that I think that just because the result at the end of it is disappointing and bad doesn't mean that everything they've done is bad. Because I think they've done a lot of great things, and I think that they've made Europe a lot better with their efforts. And I commend the players for what effort and discipline that they put into the game. But that's the nature of performance, and that's the nature of the game. You underperform one time and that's going to define your whole season. I understand why the community is like this. I understand why the community speculates with these tidbits of information that they get. I understand why people are rabid. This to me is indicative of a very, very lively sport and also a very, very lively game. I love that shit. You know? Players don't get paid because they are good at a video game. It doesn't provide any intrinsic value besides entertainment. And that entertainment, as long as people are engaged and people get pissed and people post their shit opinions and people give players bullshit for playing bad, that means the game is alive. When people stop giving you that shit, bro, then I'm telling you the game is dying. And the thing is, the community will speculate. Everyone's going to speculate because it's fun. It's fun and intriguing. That's why I think it's very important as players to be very careful in terms of what information you release out there, because you can, of course, do things and maneuver things and play the chess game of social media to garner more sympathy and more power in your direction. And I wouldn't blame players for doing so, because GMs in a lot of places base their team building off of the perception of the community, sadly, right? And in the end, right, it's like every mistake or everything that happens and the community gets rabid about, to give people some tidbits as to why it happened without the full context of what the team has gone through, I think is also in poor taste, because I think that this gives people the ammunition to speculate, right? We had the APA and the Pioshik thing, where he talks about the lack of his champion pool. It's like putting that out gives people the image that they have the full context and they're going to run rabid with it, right? And I think that's very, very poor. Additionally, I think that the other layer of it, right, is that like we had the whole Alistar conversation. We had players like, why did the Fnatic team look so disjointed in the conversation surrounding the Alistar? It's like to put that out there, that you didn't want to play the champion that you wanted to play, I think is in really poor taste, because you lose and you win as a team, you know? They need to, like, players need to shut the fuck up unless they are doing it intentionally, right? And unless they're doing it intentionally for the sake of gaining some kind of edge in the public conversation. But it's kind of funny, you know, DK and G2, they were both really strong scrim teams and it didn't translate well. You know, at the end of the day, you doing well in scrims is not an indication as to how well you're going to do, right? Because we don't have the context. It's the same way when I look at these best of ones. It's like, for example, I think GENG is a fantastic team. But I think that in the 4 wins that they had, I don't think they needed to show that much, right? I think, for example, T1 as a team, in terms of what they've done at the World Championship, their win against Bilibili is a really, really big one, right? The context of those wins matters a lot. It's like, you can sell it. GENG went undefeated. Wow, undefeated. What is the story behind it, right? The story behind GENG being undefeated is that they beat GAM, and then they beat T1, and then, of course, they beat also G2, right? So what did GENG show in the context of that, right? GENG showed Akali, they showed that Chovy's in form, Doran's playing really well, and the Delight, and of course, fucking Delight is just the best Rakan on the server, right? For me, my opinion of GENG was really, really high, and these 4 games didn't change my opinion, right? It didn't change my opinion of GENG, right? I think, Seth Curry, seemed that you are minimizing what that game was, right? You're minimizing what that game was from T1 side too. Because in the end, this is a regional matchup that we've seen. I've seen this game play out before, right? And T1 highlighted their weakness, and then GENG, it's a regional matchup that we've seen before, and we've seen games play similarly, right? But nevertheless, right? By contrast, I am saying, right, if I look at T1, they lost against GENG, but I think that their series against Bilibili is really, really indicative of something really important in this tournament. They are capable of dropping 4-5, and they are solving their issues to connect support with jungle by creating AD and support pairings. They need to be 2 on the wave. That is massive. All of a sudden, for me, T1 stonks have gone up. Because they got the Caitlyn, they got the Jinx, they got all of those additional ADs going into 4-5 that can easily play into the Kai'Sa and the Xayah that everybody loves to blind. Their win is very significant to me in terms of how I warp and change my position in regards to T1, right? Keria has always been a fantastic fucking laner, and I've always hyped up him for mechanics. My main issue with Keria has been how well he connects with, of course, jungle, and how that ties into everything else, right? So Owner in Keria is a terrible jungle support, right? But that becomes a lot less relevant when he's playing the Renata, when he's playing the Tahm Kench, when he's playing a support that is designed in mid to late game to only stick to your AD. And I think that's where Korea is so fucking insane. So insane, right? Now Gumayushi and Korea, they found their traction, and all of a sudden, for me, I view T1 in a different light because of what they revealed, right? And the same thing can be said for G2. In their 2 wins, their win against Damwon and the win against Weibo, when people in the community jump to conclusion very fast. They say based on those 2 games that all of a sudden G2 is favored to make top 4. That was crazy. Don't get me wrong. I did feel and I did think that G2, of course, is going to beat NRG. That was my prediction. NRG didn't show me anything in North America, and also not anything at this tournament before that series against G2 that was indicative of NRG winning. And I would have made the same prediction time and time again, right? Time and time again, I made that prediction. At MSI, I predicted Bilibili to beat GENG. And also I predicted Bilibili to beat C9. Some people were delusional about C9 being delusional about C9 beating Bilibili somehow. I don't know where that delusion came from, but I remember it happening. It was funny. Point is, once again, it's like the value and the substance of a win and a loss is very important. Very important. Nevertheless, I hit some, I missed some. I made the flip here that Weibo wouldn't make it through, but we have Weibo and NRG, and that's what I missed. Cool. You know? Bilibili overrated? I think that I overrated Bilibili for sure. I overrated Bilibili. So, I definitely overrated Bilibili. I had way higher expectations of Yagao, right? And way higher expectations of On. These are 2 players that haven't been playing so well, right? Nevertheless, we continue. NRG versus Weibo, a first series to be played. I think the key thing for me when I think of NRG and what has been a pain point for them for a very long time in terms of what is their weakness, right? I think that their weakness has been just bot lane laning, right? Bot lane laning has been a problem for them, right? And I think they solved that problem by letting Ignar play a more libero role where he connects with his mid laner, connects with his jungler, and they find ways to pressure the game. I think based off of what G2 showed against, the NRG showed against G2, that was a very, very well played game, right? I think that they didn't face enough resistance in the early game because of imprecisions of Yike and also because of BB's laning. And I think that this is going to be very, very different against Weibo, right? I think Wei is one of the best performing junglers, if not the best performing jungler at this tournament. And I think that's something that is going to be different. I think this is where Contracts will be challenged, even though Contracts, in my opinion, showed the best mechanical Jarvan and a fantastic tournament so far. Really, really good tournament from Contracts. And the same thing can be said for top. I think the Hawks did a very, very good job against Broken Blade, but Broken Blade's laning has been very, very subpar at this tournament. And then the question is Xiaohu versus, of course, Xiaohu, of course, against Palafox. I think even though Xiaohu has been underwhelming at this tournament, I don't think that Xiaohu is going to be a liability here. I don't think that he's going to be a liability here. Additionally, Weibo don't have those flaws in draft that G2 does, right? Steph Curry mentioned it in the chat, you know? They're capable of playing Jarvan. I think that he's capable of also playing... capable of playing Jarvan, they're capable of playing Rumble. The Xayah thing is the main question, right? But I think a big thing here for Weibo, right? They showed the Caitlyn Lux. And the Senna Tamkench is a known quantity. So I plain and simple, I think that Weibo is definitely favored in this. I think that people should not confuse percentage picked with a odds sentiment. Just because 95% have picked GENG doesn't mean that the majority of people that pick GENG to win believe that they have a 95% chance to win against Bilibili. That's not what it is. Because logically, if you think there's a 55% chance that a team wins over 45, then of course everyone's going to pick a specific team, right? So keep that in mind. Like this is not indication of odds at all, right? This is not indication of odds at all. This just happens to be people believe JDG is going to win. This doesn't mean, wow, KT has a 7% chance to win. No, 7% of people picked KT, right? This is not the indication of odds. All right, GENG versus Bilibili. So let's talk about the truth, right? I think that Peanut is much better suited for this meta than Shun is. I think Shun is a jungle with serious teeth, but those teeth, when they don't get access to blood, I don't think that he is as great, you know? If this was a situation where we had more carry junglers and more mechanically intense junglers, I do think that Shun would be the better jungler over Peanut. But right now what we're seeing in the jungle is a lot of meatballs. A lot of meatballs, right? I think that Bilibili should be playing Wukong, should be playing, of course, Vi. I think that could be good for Shun, and I think that's a way in, and that's something to consider, right? I think when you look at the mid lane comparison, I worry that Yagao is kind of, you know, taking it, like I think like a big gut punch against Yagao is to ban Nico. I think that's a really big gut punch. And I think that shit is the tricky thing right now for the junglers and the mid laners that are a lot better at playing dynamic games, is that the mages are very strong, and the champions that are focused on the laning are very strong. We saw the side of Chovy when he's playing the Akali, and we saw the side of, we've seen a lot of Orianna at this tournament. I think for Yagao, if he can get his hand at Nico, if he can play the Talia angles, he can maybe play Ahri. I think this is where Yagao looks at his best, right? And if Yagao is put in a position where he can play a more dynamic game and it's less about the isolation against Chovy, I think that Yagao can find an edge. But the truth is, Yagao has had a very poor tournament, right? And I think that Xiaohu and Yagao, two players, in regards to how much I enjoyed their gameplay locally in LPL and how well they played at Summer, I think that they have underperformed. But additionally, I want to add, if you look at the history of both of these teams, I think that Bilibili is a team that can get scrappy when it's necessary. And I think that for those who watch Bilibili in spring, as an example, they really were pushed to the brink and they fought back at all times. Bilibili is not a team that you underestimate, and I think the depth of some of these players can definitely be shown here. I think that Elk has had a fantastic tournament, but I think the main thing that makes Bilibili look worse than usual, I think, is On. On is really on his Hillisang shit, and he's not having a good tournament. Yagao at least finds moments where he's very relevant and strong, but like the best game that On had was him playing Milio. And even in that game he got caught on side where Caps bonked him with Jace, right? I think Bin is better than Doran, and there are some question marks in regards to GENG and their ability to choke, right? When things become greater. But that's not something that I want to speculate on, because in the end I don't have the inside information. So I'm going to focus on what is tangible to me, right? And that is gameplay. And currently I would say that Delight is much better than On in terms of performance. I think that also Peanut is more suited for this meta, and I think that Chovy also is in line to have a really good performance against Yagogo too. So I'm going to go with GENG here. I think that GENG is going to be the favorite to win this one. But I want to add, right? I want to add that Bilibili is a team very capable of smashing a GENG that might be underperforming. I want to add this, right? I want to add this layer to the discussion, right? Bilibili has a fantastic fucking roster, and I don't think that this best of 5 needs to look like, there's a world where this best of 5 doesn't look clean for GENG. Bilibili is a really, really strong team, and they haven't had a fantastic performance. GENG still relatively unexperienced in the sense of winning international best of 5s. But I do have to say that I think GENG as a team, if you look at their gameplay, right? How I define them, because I do think that there is underperformance at hand, and I think that there's definitely that. But I want to also say that in terms of how like GENG has progressed, right? This is performance and this is time. It's like GENG is like the steady. Let's say they start here. It makes more sense because they start at a pretty decent performance. They've been growing over this year very steadily, and I think their last best of 5 against T1 really showed them at like really high capacity. I think Chovy as a player, even in a world where he's as good as he is, I think that he's shown a lot of growth. And I think that here there's like, they play at a solid 90%, and that's what makes them dangerous. I think what makes JDG dangerous is that they play at a 96% at all times. And then you have like the likes of Bilibili, who play with definitely some variance with players like On. These are guys that can find themselves in situations where they find giga performances. Bilibili is a team that plays with very high variance, right? While GENG has maintained a very steady growth across time, and then JDG is the epitome of that because they play like high variance, like they play at the good end of high variance all the time, which just translated means that they fucking play at an insanely high level. Always maybe is maybe untrue, but it's like you have one player underperforming, it doesn't matter. It's like beating out JDG in a game is fucking hard. It's like Kanavi can intermit a little bit, and then it's like he has a bad early game, something goes wrong, whatever. Or Ruler got solo killed by Gala. They're like, oh, okay, let's just take a step back, and then GG, But if I make the argument for Bilibili winning, right, it's that Yagao is playing the Talia and the Nico, and then On has a good performance, and then all of a sudden, I think these teams are on relatively even footing. And the thing is, the Swiss stage happened, it's 2 weeks of gameplay. 2 weeks of gameplay doesn't have to define teams. And I think that's something that I want to highlight. Bilibili at their best can beat GENG. But they haven't shown their best so far at this tournament, and the meta is very restrictive. But if they can play Vi, Nico, Vi, Ari, and they can make ways to connect with On, and they can pressure the game, Elk and Bin are players that can carry games with advantages. Thank you very much, Jason, and also Roundtrip 101 for the Prime. Appreciate you. But let's move on. I just want to highlight that this series can be fucking close. Really fucking close. And looking at all of these matchups, we could be in a world where 4 APL teams make it through. So, KT Roadster versus JDG. So, JDG is the obvious favorite. But what could KT do to win? Thing is, I think KT as a team is a very strong early game team, but I think in terms of how they convert, leaves too many opportunities. It leaves way too many opportunities. And I think KT, I feel bad for them because they've had the toughest tournament run of all time. I don't think that like these guys have gone through hell and they've just drawn the worst possible team over and over again. Like, it's been mental, the teams that they've had to face. It's been absolutely crazy. They had to play Billy Billy, they had to play Damon, they had to play fucking LNG, right? It's like, did they play LNG? Who the fuck did they play? I'm blanking on it. They did play LNG, right? Why am I blanking on it? They played Billy Billy, I mentioned that one. There's one more team that they played that I'm forgetting. Weibo I already mentioned. Sorry, the wrong one. So KT played Billy Billy first, and then they played DK, and then they played Weibo, and then at the 2-1 mark they played against LNG, right? And then they had to fucking beat DK again. That is, they didn't play a single Western teams, and Western teams are really free, right? I think that macro-wise, they just aren't satisfactory. And I think that gives too many opportunities to a team like JDG. We saw that against LNG, we saw that against Billy Billy, and JDG is just way sharper there. But I think that KT is a commendable early game team. And I think BDD is really a driving force there. So I think still JDG is going to be the favorite. Now this matchup is fucking spicy. Because basically this matchup will be, I think Scout is much better than Faker. I'm gonna make that clear right away. I think Scout is a massive advantage. Scout is a fantastic player. I think that he has an advantage over Faker. Okay? Top lane, I think that Zeus, probably the stronger player, but not enough for me to be like, wow, Zika's gonna get stomped. No. Zika's a fucking good player. Like that's like a very good matchup, right? Zika not experienced, but this is like you're going into intangible world. Like, how is Zika not experienced? You know, he played the fucking best of 5 against JDG, and you know he played at the peak. You know, it's like I think this is, you know, like Zika is really fucking good. You know, Zika's fucking good. Tarzan versus Owner. I know people are hyped about Owner. I think Owner has played some decent early games, but like some of these EQs are flying wrong, and I think there's always mistakes in the games that Owner played. I think that Owner has played better at the World Championship than he has domestically, but I still think Tarzan is the better jungler coming into this. I don't think that we've seen enough at Worlds for me to dismiss Tarzan against Owner. The key edge, I believe here, that T1 has against LNG is the fact, what I mentioned before, is that their bot lane can go deep, and their bot lane knows how to defeat Xayah. Their bot lane knows how to defeat Kai'Sa. And these are the champions that Gala is defined by. And Gala knows how to fucking play these champions well. And it might be just a scenario where he squeezes through and he's going to defeat the enemy. Could be that scenario. Could be that scenario. Could be that scenario as well that Gala, plain and simple, let's say LNG make a commitment to ban Caitlyn, to ban Ashe, to ban Draven. Let's say they lock in 3 bans. And then they just have a Kai'Sa Xayah meta. And then all of a sudden T1's edge is not quite the same. I am not impressed with Hung. I'm not impressed with Hung. Hung is kind of a passenger on this team, I believe. He's decent, but he's definitely you know, a passenger on this team. And I think if it wasn't for Gala, he wouldn't be a good passenger. That's my take on him. I think that LNG is very, very good in terms of how they maneuver on the map. Senatam bot by any chance for T1? Of course, they already played it. Of course it's a chance. It's just that in a best of 5, the intriguing aspect of this best of 5 will be when Gala blind picks Kaiser. Does T1 have enough depth after bans, after the awareness, to actually win hard enough through bot? If you want me to do a simplification of the matchup, I think that Zeus has an edge over Zika. I think that Tarzan has an edge over Owner, Scout over Faker, and then I think Gala over Gumayushi, but to a certain extent. The thing is, it's like, I think it's more important to evaluate bot lanes as a whole. That makes more sense. And I think that T1, I think Gala is the better player than Gumayushi, right? But the limitations that you have is really, really boiled down to your support. Guma is better in lane than Gala. Keep in mind, Keria is one of the best laners when it comes to support. It's like, let's say, if Gala and Keria play Guma and Keria, if we remove the whole idea of synergy or whatever the fuck, right? If we remove the intangible things, I think that we have some Gala doubters in the chat. Okay. And keep in mind, this comes from a person. I think Gumayushi is really fucking good. Gumayushi is a really fucking good player. Gumayushi is insanely good. T1 do have side selection, yes. But keep in mind, we are comparing really insane players with really insane players. We're talking about inches here. Gala can always pull out the zigs. He can't always pull out the zigs, because it's like, maybe you can play it, but the draft really matters, you know? LNG have side selection? No, they... Actually, do they? No, guys, they don't. Guys, T1 is a higher seed. LNG is the 3rd seed. And T1 is the 2nd seed. Oh, it's because both are 3-1, 3-1. Okay. Then LNG have side selection. That makes sense, okay? They're both 3-1, 3-1. Okay, okay. Basically, the seeding is determined by the score in Swiss. It has nothing to do with the past seed, which makes sense. I think that's way better than what I suggest. Okay, so LNG have side selection. Holy, T1. Better get it ready in the interviews. Blue side is OP, right? I honestly... I think, honestly, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Because the main question you need to ask yourself, does T1 have enough depth in their champion pool bot to always play pairings that removes the idea of playing support jungle, and for them to be able to pressure the Zayas and the Kaisers? That's like the main question you need to ask yourself. If yes, you think T1's gonna win. If no, LNG is gonna win. But the thing is, for me, what tilts this a little bit, in the direction of LNG is just that I really am sold on Scout. And I think that Scout's gonna be the difference maker. And I think that LNG will invest a lot of fucking bans, Caitlyn, Renata, and I think that T1's bot lane will really be tested. And the key thing is, when it comes to teams that operates like this, I think that T1 as a team, they like to drop 4-5 with their bot. The more information you have, the easier it becomes to target the right champions. T1's team play is better. I think that across what we've seen, across summer, I think that their team play, like T1's team play, is not that good. So let's say you go into game 1, right? You ban Jarvan. Don't think it's fair to judge them on summer. Well, of course it matters. It's like, you know, T1 sucked ass against GENG, if that helps you, right? At this tournament. And they could have also lost against Bilibili game 2 if it wasn't for them throwing, right? It's like, let's not oversell what T1 has done to get to this point. Let's not oversell that, okay? T1 almost lost to Team Liquid, and then the Bilibili series, okay? Bilibili, they showed some good things in the Bilibili series. But let's be honest, game 1 was lost level 1. And game 2 was thrown. That doesn't remove from the fact that all of the things that I've highlighted about T1 so far, but let's not put too much weight into what T1 has done at this tournament yet, okay? There's a fine line there. There's a fine line. I disagree. What the fuck do you disagree with? There's nothing to disagree with here. I'm asking you to not put too much stock into the games that they've played, because people are really overestimating, right? People are really overestimating what value you need to put on the games in Swiss. T1 macro is huge. I think T1's macro functions on advantages of Zeus and the advantages of Zeus, and additionally the advantages of their bot lane. Like when T1 needs to play melee support, like every other team in this tournament, then you see the lack of synergy between Owner and, of course, Owner and Korea. Owner and Korea don't work well together. Peanut and Delight work really well together. Why is GENG consistently beating T1? It's because their jungle support work well together, and Ovi performs better than Faker. And you're gonna tell me now Doran adopts Zeus, whatever the fuck, or Gumiushi versus Pace? These are details that don't fucking matter. I'm giving you the rundown of the most important factors. And once again, I don't think Owner is that strong of a player. I think that he has a really good tournament so far. And I think he's performed better here than regionally, right? Remember that Owner and Keria was the best players in LCK Spring 2023? The hell? What the hell? Where you at, self-made. He had a good listen, definitely in spring. All of Ono's improved performance has been on literally one champion. Yeah, and even then, it's like people were hyping up Ono's performance as if it was like, wow, Ono's insane. Like, I don't know how anyone walked away from that series. Like, I was so surprised that after Bilibili and T1 was concluded, that people were glazing fucking Honor. That was very surprising to me. I was like, what the fuck? Fucking Gumayushi and Zeus and Korea. They had monster games. Sure, Zeus ran it down on Gragas, but bro, it's like Gumayushi, like T1's bot lane was insane in the Bilibili series. Yeah, like it's fine to glaze after that win against Bilibili. It's a big win. But I think they glazed the wrong person. They glazed the wrong person, that's my point. T1 deserved some good glazing. And that's fair. But with everything said here, guys, I'm gonna go with my gut and I'm gonna trust LNG. But I think these two matchups are insane. This matchup is insanely interesting. I think this is insanely interesting. I am delusional. Wow. I've given all my reasons. I have given my reasonings. And I think this is something that can go both ways. But I think LNG, they've shown me more. They've shown me more. And I think this is gonna be a close fucking series. It's gonna be a close fucking series, I think. Because I think LNG will roll out, let's say they roll out Jarvan, Caitlyn, Renata ban blue side, okay? Boom. You really just skimmed over bots matchup just like that? Bro, I've been talking about it for like 20 minutes, this matchup. How am I skimming over anything? This is what happens when you spend a year in a call with people who glaze LPL. It's expected, guys. This is very rude. That's very rude. Bro. I went through everything very thoroughly. It's like, let's say LNG, they roll out with Jarvan, Caitlyn, Renata bans, right? As a place to start, right? Then we have to think about where else could T1 go, right? Probably they remove Zaya, because that's natural, right, still. And then it's like, Kalista is something that, of course, LNG also play. It's like, if anyone picks Kalista, he's going to pick Tristana into it. And then that's like, that's of course an angle, right? Then the question is, it's like some of the deeper T1 counters, like picking Senna blind, I think to some degree could be like good if you have depth in terms of what you can pair with it, and that's definitely something that Korea does. And then the question is like if T1 can slam Senna 1, 2, 3, because in 4-5 it will always be banned. I think Psycho, unless you're going to actually give good arguments, I will just always, when I read your name, just ignore what you write. Unless you like give some good arguments, you know. Thing is, I will not ban you but I will shun you. You will just be typing your messages into the void, you know, and that's okay, because the fact that you're doing that shows passion. So, I repeat, T1 could definitely win this. I think this is really, really fucking close. Really fucking close. There are two peeps who are just dissing you. Rest upright to polite. Yeah, of course, of course. But I called him out by name, right? But okay, these are my picks, guys. I think this is a very close matchup. I think, honestly, guys, we have really like fantastic draws. But for the entertainment purposes, this is a fantastic draw. Amazing draw. Let's be honest. Beautiful draw. Like, really amazing draw. For the entertainment purpose, and also for like the matchup purpose, it's really insane. But the teams LNG and T1 are getting screwed by the draw. And that's why we shouldn't put any value on teams that make top 4. Like, making top 4 doesn't mean anything. Either you fucking win and make semis or whatever. It's like, one of these two teams is gonna make top 4 and LNG or T1 is not gonna make it, which is fucked. Which is really fucked. So I think the key thing for me is, it's like making top 4 really doesn't matter in terms. You get more prize money, which is cool, but matchup-wise, we have some really close and exciting matchups. It's like the Western Hope drew the easiest team possible on paper, right? We have the MSI matchup, GENG versus Bilibili. Boom. Scout versus Faker. Oh. Katie doing a demon run, hard mode, no death, no take damage, all Dark Souls games against JDG. There's so many narratives here, and ladies and gentlemen, I will bring you guys the action on, of course, the G2 Esports channel. We'll be doing the co-streams, we'll be doing the rocking, we'll be doing the rolling, we'll be doing the cha-cha-cha, and with the maracas. And you know, the world works in mysterious ways. Sometimes you look at MSI groups and you think to yourself, wow, IG is going to maybe just fucking win worlds again. And then they lose to Team Liquid. Sometimes a team like DRX wins the world championship. Sometimes people get sick and food poisoned and they run it down. Anything can happen in the world of League of Legends. These are predictions based off of what is tangible. We cannot measure the intangible and the variables of the vast universe. Let's see what the gods have written. Let's see what the gods have written for us, ladies and gentlemen. We have quarterfinals. Let's fucking enjoy this. Let's enjoy the shit out of this.